And he wanted to raise, and he will raise if he ever got in here, which I don't think is going to happen, not even in 4 years. But he wanted to raise the minimum age to 70. That's a big deal. He also wanted to hit Medicare and hit it very, very hard. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. They say it's the best trade deal ever made in the history of our country. I actually think, I may be wrong, I made a deal with China, but I don't talk about it because once COVID came in, I said, I'm not even talking about it. But the deal I made with China is $50 billion they buy a year. It started out at 4 or 3, and then we got them up to 15. And then I went into the negotiating room and I said, listen, you're so big, we want 50 billion. And they said, okay, 50 billion. And I said, do you remember the farmers? Remember this? I said, here's what you do. Because the farmers went along with me. It took us a year and a half to get that done because they're not easy to deal with. They're great negotiators. They were ripping off our country. They couldn't believe this was happening because usually you see the way they go now and they bow to the Chinese. They bow. They have no respect. They get no respect whatsoever. But I said, it's going to take a little long to do this. And I'll never forget, 32 farmers came to see me at the White House. Beautiful everything, beautiful room, all set up. And I said, I'm going to get you a lot of subsidy from China. And one of the farmers raised his hand. I'll never forget, this is the only time this happened. Sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want a fair, level playing field. I couldn't believe it. It's the first time that's ever happened. Because everybody else, Christie says, we want the money. We want money. The farmers didn't. They just wanted a level playing field, which they didn't have. And I went to Sonny Perdue, who was the Secretary of Agriculture. I said, Sonny, what damage have they done over the last 3, 4, 5 years to our farmers? And he comes back 2 days later. He said, sir, it's about $28 billion. I said, it's a lot. I said, we're going to get it. And I got $28 billion, and farmers picked up big, fat, beautiful checks. And I was very happy to do it. And I said, there's no way I lose a farm. How the hell am I going to lose a farm state? Any farmer voted against me. I can't imagine that. So I was a little bit cockier than I should be. But now I will knock on wood just in case. But I don't see how we can lose with the farmers. And with the manufacturers, same thing. But they buy $50 billion. Now what I understand is, you have to police that. You have to make sure. I used to go in once every week. Are they buying? Yes, sir, they started. Are they buying? Every week I'd say, are they buying? I didn't have to say China. Yes, sir, they are. They're buying. I bet you right now, if you look, I'll bet they're not buying anything. I'll bet they're not buying at all. And the way they push our country around, it's incredible. There's no reason for it. We had a very strong relationship, but it was a good relationship, and we did fantastically well. But that deal might have been better than the USMCA, but the USMCA Mexico, Canada was a very one-sided deal. That NAFTA was so one-sided. I said, we have to change it. They made some typos in the original deal many years ago. They were typos of numbers, where the typos were actually much more for them, and they didn't change it. They never even called, you have a thing called, you call up and you say, by the way, we made some mistakes. They didn't bother changing it. That deal was so bad, NAFTA, for us. And now the USMCA is so good, they want to renegotiate the deal. They called up the Biden administration. This deal's not fair. And I hope they don't do it because they shouldn't do it. It's a great deal for us. But I think maybe the China deal might even be better. But we made a lot of them. We made deals with Japan because they were really ripping us big. We made deals with South Korea. You know what they were doing. Everybody. There wasn't any good. I said, who made all these deals? We did many, many things. And we made our country successful. We made people in manufacturing successful. We stopped them from dumping steel. We saved our steel mills. It's been such a great honor to do it. And it was sort of easy. Prime Minister Abe of Japan, who was, as you know, assassinated, a great guy, he was a friend of mine. I went to him, I said, listen, Shinzo, this is so unfair, the deal that you have with America. Oh, is it really? Oh. I said, no, it's really unfair. I said, we got to redo it. He says, I knew you'd come to me. No other president came to him. He said, I knew you'd come to me. Because he understood. He understood how unfair it was. South Korea, the same thing, sort of. They knew it was so unfair. I said to South Korea, we have to renegotiate the deal. We have 35,000 troops there in harm's way because you have North Korea, but I got along very well with Kim Jong-un. If I weren't elected president, you would have had a nuclear war guaranteed. If Hillary Clinton went in or Obama in some form, maybe the form would be Biden, you would have ended up in a nuclear war. We got along after the first month or two when it was rather tough. You remember? Little Rocket Man. And he said, I have a red button on my desk. And I said, I have a red button too. Mine's bigger, better, and mine works a lot stronger than yours. And President Obama told me when we sat down, it's a sort of a ritual before you take office, I sat down, I said, so what's the biggest problem? He said, biggest problem is North Korea. I mean, he really felt we were going to end up in a nuclear war. I said, have you called them? Rather than losing millions of people, have you called them? And he didn't say yes. And I said, well, maybe somebody should have to call. And the truth is that they did call, and they were not received well. When we spoke and we dealt, I went over there. You remember that? It was a very historic moment. Went over there. And I said to Kim Jong-un, being a real estate guy, it's just sort of natural. I said, you have the most beautiful shoreline. Think of it. You're between China, Russia, and South Korea. Look at the beautiful shore. You could have the most beautiful condos that you've ever seen and become rich as hell. You don't have to live like you're living. But he's a tough guy. He's a smart guy. And he just loves collecting nuclear weapons. That's what he does. He collects nuclear weapons. And we got along incredibly well once we met and once we started the whole thing. And we saved the Olympics in South Korea because nobody was going. Nobody wanted to be blown out of the stadium. And we came along. They actually participated in the Olympics. We had a great relationship, and it would have been great if we would have had a deal done long ago if the election weren't rigged. And that's the way it is. I mean, it's a shame. Think of what's happened to our country. In just 3 years, think of what's happened to our country. You look at the borders and you look at, we're not respected. We're laughed at all over the world. We're losing all of these countries. Saudi Arabia now is aligned with China. We don't want them aligned with China. They're very good. They have tremendous oil reserves, but we really don't need their oil reserves. You know, we have more oil under our feet, I called it liquid gold, than Saudi Arabia or than Russia. And you know what we do? We get it from Venezuela. They won't take it. We take their tar. You know, they don't have good oil. They have tar. And you know where we process it? In Houston. So all that stuff, if you're a believer in that, and I believe it to a certain extent, not like the maniacs that want to destroy our country, but it all goes up into the atmosphere. And when China's very dirty, it all blows over here, just like you ever see in the Pacific Ocean. We're taking tons and tons and tons of garbage because China dumps their garbage in the Pacific, and the tide flows it in toward Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. And then they say, we have to keep our claim. No, they have to participate because it blows over in 3 to 4 days. So what good does it do for us to destroy our businesses by putting controls all over the place? By having, we had a trucker. I saw him over here someplace, a father and a son. I said, I read last night where they want to make all of these big trucks that travel all over the country. They want to make them all electric. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. He said, it will destroy the industry because they go for 2 hours and then you have to charge them for 4 hours, right? He was saying it doesn't work. And they put it on. They don't even talk. You got to talk to the people. You got to talk to the people in the trucking industry, not to some person that wants to destroy our country. I actually believe that's what they want to do. But unlike the establishment globalists in this race, and they are globalists, I've also been an unwavering defender of ethanol, which you like right here, on behalf of the American farmers, and remain the ethanol champion. Now keep it. It's a big factor in Iowa, your state. It's a big, big factor. Our record on the economy is unmatched in the history of our country. So it's no wonder we're up very big in the polls, leading all Republicans in the primary by massive numbers and crushing crooked Joe Biden in the general election. The new poll that came out just today. Remember, I used to go over the polls in the old days. I'd go over the polls. Only if they were good. If they were bad, I wouldn't go over them. If I had a bad period and the polls weren't looking good, I wouldn't talk about them. If they're good, I talk. But I'll tell you, I'll talk now because these are the best polls. In the new premise poll that just came out last night, we're at 62%. DeSantis is second to 12%. But he's sinking rapidly. So we're at 62. He's at 12. He's not doing a great job. And the rest of the people are in single digits. You know, we have a couple of them that are at 0. I wonder, what's this guy from Arkansas? I love Arkansas. This guy, Hutchinson, Ada. I call him Ada Hutchinson. What the hell is he doing? He's at 0. He's been working so hard. He's a nasty guy, actually, but he's been working so hard. He's at 0. Does he think he can win? He's not going to be picked for a cabinet post if that's what he's thinking about. But in the Redfield-Wilton poll, just came out a few hours ago, we're at 65%. DeSantis is at 9%. That's now in. You know, when I announced, we were up 20, 25 points. That's a lot. Now we're up 50, 60, 70 points. And then they say, why aren't you doing the debate? I say, wait a minute. If I do the debate, what am I doing? I have a guy at 0, 1, 2, asking me nasty questions. Somewhat of a hostile network asking me nasty questions, right? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And, you know, you want to have a smart president, not a stupid president, right? What I do look forward to is debating the Democrat, whoever that may be. And again, it's going to be interesting to see because I don't think he makes it to the starting gate, but maybe he does. But it's going to be a very interesting period of time. And in the just released Iowa state poll, big deal. You know, Iowa's a very big deal. I kept them first in the nation. They very much appreciate it. They didn't do that. The Democrats didn't do that. But in the Iowa poll just came out, I'm up 37 points, 51 to 14 on, I don't even know if DeSantis is second anymore. He's heading bad. He's turned out to be an unskilled politician. When asked by Morning Consult, which is a big deal, who has the best chance of defeating crooked Joe Biden in November, it was Trump at 63%, DeSanctimonious at 13%. So that's good. And Christie and her incredible, by the way, he's an incredible guy. Her husband is an incredible guy, and I appreciate you putting up with everything in the world of politics. I don't know how the hell you do it. Incredible guy, wonderful guy. But we're doing well, and she's doing so well. I looked at your polls. I'm not going to talk about it because I think you might be beating me in the state. And that's unacceptable. Usually I come in. It's unacceptable, Christie, to have that happen. But we're leading Biden in an electoral landslide by 5 points, 6 points, 11 points, 7 points in various other polls. A couple have it 1. You know, as a Republican, when you lead a Democrat in a presidential race by 2 or 3 points, it means you're way ahead. But it's sort of different because the polls are very skewed, it's called. But people that don't know politics, one poll came out last week, I'm leading by 3. And a friend of mine said, how the hell can you only be leading by 3? This guy, he can't speak. And I said, that's the world of politics. And we have to be so careful. We have to make sure that they don't cheat because they are cheaters. And that's the biggest fear that we all have. It's the biggest fear. Biggest fear that everybody has. Our momentum is unprecedented and hopefully unstoppable. And that's the reason that Joe Biden's ordered his leading opponent arrested on 91 fake and phony charges. 91. How many charges are there? But we're going to ask for dismissals of a lot of it. Most of it is just you ask for dismissal. It's called dismiss the charges. But remember, it's a Democrat charging his opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That means that if I win and somebody wants to run against me, I call my attorney general. I say, listen, indict him. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know of. I don't know. Indict him on income tax evasion. You'll figure it out. And you know, the good thing with me is I have a big voice and people know me. And you know me for a long time. but people know me and I'm able to speak. But if you're a regular politician, a really good politician, an honest politician, and you get indicted, you get a subpoena, and that gets reported in the paper and the news, you have to leave office. And the Republicans in the Senate and the Republicans in the House cannot let this go on because people are being destroyed, lives are being destroyed by these sick lunatics in Washington. And I think I can honestly say this, Christy. I'm the only person in the history of politics that's been indicted whose poll numbers went up 25 points or something, right? I think so. You know, usually if you get indicted, it's standard. I've watched it for years. I'd like to announce my retirement. I'm going home to spend more time with my family and to fight these charges. You know, there's nothing you can do. But fortunately, I have a big voice, and people know I'm for better or worse. You know what the hell you're getting, right? But you're getting somebody that loves you and that's going to fight for you. That I can tell you. But you're witnessing the most corrupt and blatant weaponization of law enforcement our country has ever seen, and they're doing it for a single reason: election interference. Because with these indictments comes bad publicity. Now, my case is unusual, but maybe at some point that switches. You know, you go with these people and they're sick, and they say this and that, and you have to prove. But it's incredible. But if you take a look at what they do to the publicity of a person, and I know numerous people over the years that I've really thought were honest in many cases, and they were literally out of politics in a matter of hours. Some of them literally quit immediately upon getting served with a subpoena. That won't happen with me. So we did. Thank you. By the way, and I say this more to the country than to this great state, because we have some states that are very close. This is not close. What did I win by this state, Christy? Like, a lot. 28 points or something. So you're very forgiving, right? No, but you have others where it's closer, and you got to be very careful. But you have to get out, and you have to fight like hell, because these are dirty players, and what we have to do is we have to take back our country. We have to straighten that whole situation out. And it does. It allows me to now, because this is unthinkable, I'm president and I call my attorney general, indict my opponent. He's doing well. I'm leading Biden in all these polls. Every time I have a good poll, it seems every time I have to give you another indictment. What's this one for? But if you're the president, you're the chief law enforcement officer of the country. You remember the fake impeachments. We had impeachment hoax number 1 and impeachment hoax number 2. There were 2 fake impeachments. One was over a phone call that turned out to be exactly right. Exactly right. But what you do is you make it impossible for people to win an election. It's called election interference at a level never seen before, and we have to stop it. But if they're allowed, what will happen, whether it's me or anybody else, if they're allowed to do it, that means that the Republicans are allowed to do it. And then you get into this situation which is really very bad and very dangerous for our country. Nobody thought a thing like this could happen. We did great in 2016 and we won. We did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016, getting many millions more votes, and we're going to do even better than we've ever done before in 2024. I feel that. I mean, I see it. Don't forget, you look at this arena, and it's packed. Look at this arena. It's packed. We're a year before the election. You know, these guys don't pack an arena the night before the election. They have a smattering of people. Oh, good Lord. Remember Hillary with the thing with the women screaming? That one woman with the glasses, she's become famous? No. That was the most beautiful stage I've ever seen. By the end of the evening, it didn't look pretty. It didn't look pretty. They rigged the presidential election 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2023. Okay? We won't have a country. We won't have a country. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I do. And I'm being indicted for you. I am being indicted for you. I'm not too thrilled about that, but that's part of the job description, isn't it? I'm being indicted for you. This battle is for every patriotic American who Joe Biden and the radical left has spied on. Look at what they did. They spied on my campaign, and we caught them. Let's see what all happens. We had a great report come out. Durham was a great report, just took too long, took so long. And we had the IG, Horowitz. He did a fantastic job. By the way, appointed by Democrats. He did a fantastic job. We caught him. They spied on my campaign. Think of what would happen if I spied on, let's say, Obama's campaign. Or even Biden's campaign. I wouldn't want to. It would be too boring. But let's see. Although you'd see things that were very bad. But censured and persecuted or slandered it's really a threat to democracy while they trample our rights and liberties every single day of the year. You see it. You just turn it on and you see what they're doing. It's a horrible thing. It's for the blue-collar workers, the waiters, the waitresses who Biden is harassing with 87,000 new IRS agents that are allowed to carry guns, by the way. You know, they don't want guns, but they're allowed to carry guns. They're allowed to carry guns. While the Biden crime family cheats on their taxes as they take in millions and millions of dollars in bribes from all over the world. I mean, the whole thing is incredible. Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate. You know what that is, right? He's totally controlled by China and other countries that paid him off, and he's petrified of them because they know the real numbers. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, they would not have to wait very long They could give him a list where the money came from, how much, and that's why I think he's acting so weak with so many countries. It's for the pro-life Christians and others who Joe Biden has thrown into jail, facing 10, 15, and even 20 years in prison for protesting and free speech, while Antifa and other groups burn down cities, kill people, go free, and don't even in many cases get prosecuted. So this battle that we're in is a battle for all of us, and it's for history. This is historic. This is a big moment in our country because we're either going to go one way or the other. And if we go the other, we're not going to have a country left. We will fight together, we will win together, and then we will seek justice together. We're going to seek justice together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who can stop them. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I'd rather have it be me. Rather have it be me. A friend of mine, very smart, very tough. He said, President, could I ask you a question? What? How do you take it? Every day you get another indictment? You never had anything like this? I said, no, I didn't. I said, I don't know. You just have to take it. I'm doing it for a lot of great people. And I said, second of all, do I have a choice? Do I have a choice? I don't think so, right? Because we have to do it. We did the greatest job ever, and now we have to finish it off. We're going to finish it off. We're going to do a job like we can make this country number one. Right now, we're a laughed at bunch of fools. The world thinks we're a bunch of stupid fools because we're led by a man who should never, ever have been allowed to be in that position. He's in a position that he should have never been allowed to have. And in the end, they're not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in their way, and I do proudly stand in their way. And I promise you this, if you put me back in the White House, their reign will be over, and America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation. We're a terrible, I don't think there's ever been a darkness around our nation like there is right now. I mean, you take a look at Afghanistan, that horrible moment in history. I was with a lot of the families the other night at one of my places, and they're incredible people. They'll never be the same. They're never going to be the same. That was so unnecessary, the way we got out. I was the one getting us. I think we would have been out sooner. We would have been out with dignity and strength. You don't take the soldiers out first. You take the soldiers out last. Look the soldiers out. The rest was a field day for these people. And they would have never done that. You know, we didn't lose one soldier in 18 months. Not one soldier. Not one soldier. And Biden actually in a speech admitted that, and they gave him hell. Don't say that. That's a good thing about Trump. No, we didn't lose one soldier in 18 months, think of it, over in Afghanistan with the Taliban. And it's so sad to see. I was with these people. They're great people. They show me pictures of their sons, daughters. One came up, sir, you had to know my son. He was so good at football. He was a quarterback, sir. He could throw the ball. There's a mother. He could throw the ball so far. Could I tell you about a game that was played? You know, we have a rival. It's a local school, and they were very tough. And my son threw the ball, and he kept throwing it, and so far, I wish you could have seen it. And I just let her talk. And it was just tough. I don't think the people can ever be the same. So much of that. And they were treated so badly by our government and so badly by this man that doesn't have even a clue. He's looking at his watch. The bodies are coming in. Going, huh. He doesn't know what the hell it says anyway, huh? It was so horrible to see the whole thing. But in addition to Governor Noem, we're pleased to be joined tonight by her wonderful husband, Brian, and her mother, Corin, who I met, who is fantastic. Now I know how this all happened. Could you please stand up, please? Corin, Brian, thank you. You think it's easy being with her, huh? It's not easy. They're incredible, two incredible people. Gotten to know them. Lieutenant Governor Larry Roden has been terrific, really terrific, wherever he may be. Thank you, Larry. Attorney General Marty Jackley, Attorney General. Thank you. Great job you do. Great job. Treasurer Josh Hader. Josh, thank you, Josh. Fantastic. Auditor, that's what the United States could use, a good auditor like Rich Satgast. The country could. Did you know they sent billions of dollars to Afghanistan? Nobody has any idea where the money is. Rich, that wouldn't happen with you, right? He'd know every penny. I don't know, maybe not every penny, but think of it. We put in $200 billion. And Europe, which is approximately the same size economy if you add it up, but which is obviously much more affected by that whole situation. Would have never happened, by the way. Zero chance it would have happened. Zero. Would have never happened. And I'll get it done, too. I'll get it negotiated done, but it would have been a lot easier. All those dead people, all those cities that are in ruins, just in ruins. But when you look at that and you look at what happened, this is something that should have never, ever happened. But Europe is in for 20 billion. We're in for 200 billion. Why? It was like that with NATO. I said, you're not paying your bills. The United States was paying close to 100% of NATO. So they screw us on trade, and then we have to protect them militarily. I said, that doesn't work. And I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars in one meeting. They said to me, does that mean, sir, that you're not going to defend us from Russia if we're not paid up? I said, did you pay? No, I didn't. That means you're not going to be defended. And the money came pouring in. It was an amazing thing. Hundreds of billions of dollars. That's why NATO has money to to do this. But think of it, they're in for 20 billion, we're in for 200 billion. Why? Why aren't they the same? First call I'd make is NATO. You got to equalize. You got to equalize. You got to put up money. But they're dealing with stupid people, our leaders. They're dealing with stupid people. Why should France and Germany, and why should all of them put up money if we don't ask them to put it up? Nobody else. It was like with NATO. Bush never asked. Obama never asked. Go in, make a speech, leave, and that's it. We'd pay all the costs. And nobody's asking. Do you think Biden goes, you got to equalize. This is not right. I don't think so. I don't think he knows what the hell we're even talking about if I told him. But we have to get them to put up money. They have to put up money because they have a lot of money. But why should they put it up if we're doing it? We sent $25 billion yesterday, and somebody said, it's a lot of money. By the way, $25 billion, that's a lot of money. It was just like on a fluke. Blinken or somebody went there and he said, we're going to give you another $25 billion. That's more than Europe has put up. But we have to be respected again. They don't respect us at all. They respected me, and I was tough on them with all the money I took in from countries, but in particular China. But they actually do better. You can be tough, and you'll do better with them. They never treated us and me the way they treat this